Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming back and listening to us. That we are Movies Galore. Here in the room with me, I have directors Ansel H. Faraj and his actor and producer Nathan Wilson. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Nice to be here.
So, begin with you, Ansel, so that we can out your directing career so far and anything that you might be working on. So, thanks for coming on again, and about yourself first of all.
Thanks again for having us, and I guess I'll say I when I was 6 years old, I knew I wanted to make movies, and Dark Shadows and Phantom of the Opera and Creature from the Black Lagoon and all the Universal monsters are what factored that decision to make movies. And really, ever since then, I've been working hard, and I started out on videotape with friends from school, and I've slowly worked my way up to where I'm at right now, which is still not quite all the way where I want to be, but we're doing something good in the indie film world. So, yeah.
So I'm going to start with a project that may not be out or whatnot, but from 2007 with Life Temporarily.
that was a student film. I was actually in the 10th grade when I made that movie. With a couple friends from school, I started out making like little horror movies and stuff on videotape, as I'd mentioned earlier, and loved to cover my friends with blood and gore. And then I said, let's just make a normal drama, a normal story. So a girlfriend of mine wrote this thing, and we made this. It's really just like a student film of what teenagers thought adulthood was like, and it's nothing that anybody needs to see today. But it was a lot of fun and a good learning experience back in the day.
Awesome. How about a short film called The Loneliness Trilogy? How did you get involved with that one?
That was also, these are all like student movies. I don't think I really started considering myself a professional filmmaker until 2012. But Loneliness Trilogy, this was also just experimenting and messing with blue screen techniques. And Loneliness Trilogy was actually like a college application film. It was like 3 short films that interlinked together, and I was using those to submit to film school. Also done with friends from high school at the time. Yeah. These are really early works of mine, but yeah.
I like it. Going back to
totally understand. The reason why I'm asking is sometimes you're able to recollect things from earlier on, and a lot of these films are stepping stones to
definitely
learning experience.
Remember is probably interesting to others.
What I can remember, yeah.
Yep. So in any case, talk about Faust from 2009.
Faust. This was. I have, as Nate well knows, I want to make a musical movie so bad. And when I was in my last year of high school, I said, damn it, I'm going to make a musical. I'm going to make a jukebox musical. So I got my friends from school, and I wrote this script, and I made them learn all these lyrics to songs, and we played it back, and they lip sync, and it was this very psychedelic, Ken Russell-esque about a guy in Venice Beach that sold his soul for the love of a young girl, and all hell breaks loose. And that was a lot of fun to make. I actually can't believe that I got a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds to learn like Dusty Springfield's The Look of Love, or some crazy Marilyn Manson song and had them running around singing and dancing and stabbing each other. So it was a good time.
How about your short film, The Darkened World?
So this was also actually this one I did to start submitting to film festivals also early on. I wanted to do something kind of like the Twilight Zone, and I had this idea: what if the sun were to vanish from the sky versus plunge into darkness? And it was just another sort of experimental short. These are all like real early works, but
The stepping stones.
I think I shot that in like a day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. How about the Hangover Square?
Hangover Square.
2009.
Yeah.
I like hearing this because I've never even heard these stories about these older movies, so this is great, even for me.
So yeah, this
It's moment. So
this was also a student film of mine, based on a novel by Patrick Hamilton written back in the 40s, and I shot it actually the day after I graduated from high school. I started filming. It took a month. Friends from school yet again, and on blue screen, and we were doing 1938 London. So it's a bunch of American, California-bred teenagers doing our best English accents all throughout. And it's actually we followed the novel really faithfully, and I actually do think that was a pretty good film. I don't think I want to show it to anybody, but it's one that I probably wouldn't mind if it got leaked online. But it was still an early film. I didn't even have the rights to the novel, but I just said, hey, I'm 17, I'm going to make a movie. What are you doing with your summer? So that's what happened.
alrighty. And now Old Friends from 2010.
Yeah, so now we're getting into some interesting territory. On my YouTube channel, Hollands with Productions, there's something called the Detective Adam Sarah Chronicles, which is a mini web series, for lack of a better word. And this was the very first incarnation of Detective Adam Sarah and his sort of gallery of rogues. And this was the second film I'd done with a professional actor, and this was Lyndon Childs, who I met when I was 18, I want to say. And it was very sort of Batman influenced. I'd come up with this character in this world when I was in high school. So Old Friends was basically the story of Detective Adam Sarah and his sister being kidnapped by the Eye Snatcher, and he has 24 hours to find her before the Eye Snatcher will kill her. And basically the same plot was then told in Detective Adam Sarah Old Friend Origins and Detective Adam Sarah Under a Shroud of Smoke, which are both online on YouTube, and they are far better in versions of the same story. But that's where Detective Adam Sarah sort of began.
Okay. Cool. We'll probably be getting to momentarily. How about your project, The Trip, from 2010?
That was also a student film of mine. I loved when I was the 12 or 13. I saw Psych Out and The Trip and The Wild Angels and all these late 60s counterculture films. And I remember watching Roger Corman's The Trip and just being like, whoa, I've never seen anything like this. Now, I was only 12 years old, so LSD, that was a pretty new concept to me. But, 12 years old, yeah. But,
what's this crazy stuff?
But so it was just my own modern day The Trip, and yeah, it was just a bunch of running around and messing, doing a lot of cool visual experimentation and abstract imagery, and yeah, that was more like art piece instead of like making a film. And
okay. How about about your project, Three Shadows from 2010?
Yeah, this is also. These are all student things.
It was great. I can't believe we made this many.
I know, right? I've
Little
done so much. It's ridiculous.
Good talking material too. So, I just figured I'd go through some of your earlier stuff so that some people out there who might be interested in your films that you have out now,
I think it's
for quite a while.
Yeah,
it all started somewhere. You've been doing it for a long time. You're only what, 26 now?
Yeah, 26. Yeah.
Wow.
This is a horror anthology, and actually you can see the first part of the anthology, Nosferatu Beyond Death, as part of Theater Fantastique. That began as a Three Shadows segment. And this was just a gothic horror thing. We did Nosferatu, we did Dorian Gray, and then we did H.P. Lovecraft's The Shuttered Room, and just really learning how to deal with actors, trying to really like take my student filmmaking and push it to the next sort of quasi-professional level while doing it on cardboard and chewing gum and in a garage. So this was it was another stepping stone film.
And
nothing about these movies ever.
Great.
This is like the first time.
I love it.
I've been asked about this stuff.
Great.
Hunters of the Dark short film.
That actually screened at film festival in Buenos Aires, of all places. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the festival, and I deeply apologize to the people of Buenos Aires for that. But it was just, I'm like, hey, let's just film some stuff. And I love H.P. Lovecraft. When I was 10, I haven't been the same since. And just like, let's do some cool Lovecraftian atmospheric stuff, and I just sort of stitched it all together, and it was a cool little psychedelic piece of work, and yeah, another stepping stone. So I that might give it some cred.
How about your short film Extraction from 2011?
Yeah, that is on YouTube. Everybody can still watch that. That was when I did a minute-long stint at an art school for film, and that is because I love Christopher Nolan. That changed my life. The Dark Knight, of course, as I mentioned, Batman earlier, and Inception had just come out that summer of 2010, and so I had to do a student thesis short film, and I said, well, what if I do something kind of like Inception, because everybody else is just doing, oh, I gotta wake up and go to school today and I'm gonna get into a car accident kind of movie. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna do something where I'm gonna have the buildings folding on top of themselves. And I'm being very arrogant right now, but anyway, you can watch this short on YouTube, and I think it's fun.
How about the short film Dmitri and Nikolai from 2011?
I never even finished that. So it's not even worth talking about. It was just like, oh, it's
totally understand.
Sci-fi non-horror thing, and let's do something where it's like two buddies are gonna go out, and it's kind of like Whipnail and I. If you've ever seen that film, they get drunk, they get high, and shit goes down. And I don't know, it was some weird idea of let's do something funny like The Hangover, and we never finished it. So there you go. You did 3 more Adam Sandler movies instead of this. It was more fun.
The General Specific from 2011.
This is also something nobody will ever see. I was deep into my Robert Altman mood. Like, oh, I'm going to do something like Shortcuts, where it's a bunch of individual stories in LA, and they're all going to cross-pollinate and work. Because I was just, I I did not know what I was doing at the time, and we improvised the whole thing. So it's like, hey, are you free tonight? Do you want to go film? Let's go film.
Somebody grab a camera, please.
Yeah, literally, it's me running around like in the parking lot, and then just doing shit, just doing stupid shit, and thinking it's high-end, high-art drama, and saying, "Oh my God, I'm as good as Altman." And no, it's not. but it was just, it's an experiment, and I just didn't want to do another horror movie. Sometimes you get tired of doing the horror and fantasy, and let me just try basic human relationship. But when you're young and stupid, you don't really know basic human relationships. So
how old were you on that one?
I was. What about you? So how old was I? Was 19. I was 19.
18 years old.
19.
19.
Because I was 21 when I met you.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's talk about Mr. Twisted Face from 2011.
I really like that film. I dreamed that film. That comes from my love of Phantom of the Opera. I had an idea about this young, disfigured boy living in an old, rotting house with his father, who used to be a TV horror host, like Zachary or Elvira, or showing late-night horror movies on TV. And he's disfigured, so his idea is to go out and make the world like him. So he's going to go out and disfigure other people. And it was actually a romantic comedy, because he met this other girl who was also disfigured, and then you found out that she was suffering from leprosy, and then she infected the whole town, and everybody they all got this virus, and they all died, and he was the only one left, and everybody was disfigured like him, and then he cut his face off in it. And a lot of fun.
Oh, man, a romantic comedy.
Yes, and it was a romantic comedy. That's my idea of love. Go out and find a great disfigured girl, cut her face off.
Oh, that's great.
And I think
let's see
that on IMDb somewhere. So for the very, very curious listener, you can go find some of this.
Why don't we talk about The Mystic Tales of Nicholas Winter?
This actually is an interesting film because it shares a connection to a later film of mine, The Rising Light. This was I had my very good friend Lyndon, who I mentioned earlier. He plays a wizard, an ancient sorcerer kind of guy, and you find out that the whole literally being written by this writer, and so you're jumping back and forth between the fiction and then the reality of the guy writing the story. And then at the very end, Nicholas Winter crossed out of the page and into reality, because he's a magician, he can do this. And his story carried on into The Rising Light. And that was a lot of fun. I liked that movie. That I might actually put on YouTube one day.
Was that your second film then with Lyndon? Or?
Oh no.
Oh, you was working
My
with you a
second
lot
was Old Friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And with The Rising Light, almost like as like a bonus film or something like that,
If we ever release The Rising Light to DVD, maybe. Yeah.
Most definitely. So why don't we talk about The Burning Within from 2012?
This was the second installment in the original Detective Adam Sarah trilogy, and this was Detective Adam Sarah going up against the fireman, whom Nate later played in Under a Shroud of Smoke.
The redo.
In the reboot.
Yeah.
The reboot.
Reboot.
Yeah. And both Burning Within and then The Haunted Men, they were the second and third chapters in Detective Adam Sarah's story, and that was I learned a lot really about writing on that film, and about you have a script and you're setting out to do one thing, and then over the process of filming, I think we shot from like April to September. Things change, and how do you retool the story and still keep the vision of the basic tale that you wanted to tell, but you have to reshape and recut, and I learned a lot about storytelling on that film, and it was a good film. It was an interesting film. Really, really violent though. I wouldn't make it as violent today. But What can you do?
Well, let's talk about Brother Drop Dead from 2012.
Here we go. We're into some big time stuff.
Yeah.
So this was I'd had enough with trying to drag performances out of my friends from school, and I shouldn't say it like that, but when you're not dealing with actors and you just got to do your best with the personality that you're dealing with, I decided, all right, I've done all I can with everybody that I know. It's time to really hire actors, and I'm gonna do a comedy because I just haven't done a comedy in a really long time, and let's do this one for real. And maybe I'll let Nate go now because Nate fell into this madness right around.
Well, this is when I first met, and I was cast in the film.
Yeah.
And I was, I think I just got back from Minnesota because I'm originally from Minnesota, and I was supposed to have the audition that day, and a buddy picked me up, and I was like, oh man, I'm supposed to have this audition today. I don't know if I should go or not. And he's like, just go, man, just go. It'd probably be fun. So I showed up, and it was Southern hillbilly comedy, and I was kind of did a Southern dialect in the character at this time, and so I kind of had that down. So when I like read the sides and all that stuff,
he had to read a speech by Ronald Reagan. That was his audition.
Yeah.
So that tells you.
And then I just kind of really not overdid it, but what I thought what should be funny for a comedy, and I got the call back and I got the role. So that's kind of the beginning for me of that.
Nathan, since we're talking to you, with Ansel about these and films that you've acted in, I might as well ask you through them since you're on here with him.
Yep. Yeah.
How was your experience on this film?
It was a lot of fun, for sure. It was, I mean, I don't know. It was, I mean, definitely was a lot of fun. I met amazing people, and then this is kind of where the jump off point with Ansel was.
Yeah.
And I was just having fun because I actually got to go out there and finally film something and do something and like, you know what I mean? And I wasn't getting paid, but just still to like get some experience behind the camera. And that's when I met Lyndon, you know, and he was such a great actor, and to be able to like watch him and just kind of get a good friendship with him was
and learn from him too.
And learn from him as well, and to see how he read his lines and how he acted kind of on our set, you know, and kind of what he did was a huge learning experience for me and kind of a jump off point, because I was kind of pretty much doing some theater out here and a little bit of improv, and did some theater in college as well in Mankato in Minnesota, and so this is kind of the jump off point of like, wow, you know, you can actually just go and make a film. You don't have to have money. You don't have to like have everything perfect to make an actual fun and go have fun and do a film. I guess for me is kind of what I started to learn from it, and it turned out fun and a great experience.
Yeah, it was a lot of work though. I mean,
yeah, it was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work and a lot of organizing and but it learned a hell of a lot.
And dealing with the different actresses and different actors and kind of what happens on the set, and like when you get all these people together and you're trying to, you know, schedule them and you're trying to get them out there.
There are specific moments, Ansel, that in this film that you remember as something that it was a favorite scene of yours.
We were just talking about this the other day.
Yeah. This film was a lot, as I said, a lot of work. You know, I mean, I guess what I'll answer this. There's a sequence where they decide they're going to kill the brother, and they're running. They can't smother him. He realizes they're trying to kill him, so he starts running through the house. And then Nate says, "I'm getting the chainsaw," and then they get the chainsaw, and he's running around in a one-piece. What were you wearing?
I think it was it was like a onesie, like a Christmas onesie,
yeah,
some heart onesie thing.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't even like Christmas. It was like white, and it had like I put like tea bags to make it all like yellow.
Oh yeah,
and sweaty.
yep, it was.
And he's running around chasing his brother with a chainsaw, and they run up and down and around, and the whole family is chasing him. And I sped it up in fast motion, and I like that scene. I mean, I don't know how many other filmmakers have said this, but you really don't watch your work once you've done it. I have not seen this film.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
Since we shot it, probably. I don't really care to revisit it. It was a lot of work, but I met Nate,
yeah,
and
but it was like that was a kind of a jump off.
Yeah,
point.
it was okay. Now this is serious. You're really gonna do this, so take it seriously. And and we went from there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And next you did a short film called A Gambling Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of, I wrote that one actually. That was kind of the first time when I had this idea about. Well, I was doing comedy improv at the time, and I had this idea about a gambler that like loses kind of everything, and then like with comedy, you always have to heighten. And you heighten the comedy, and then this, I for some reason was thinking, what if you just heighten everything bad, heighten the drama just as much as possible, Keeps
getting worse and
worse and worse, which is it's kind of a tough movie to watch, and I think it's a very heightened drama, and I think it's I mean, now it's kind of the first time we collaborated on something that I wrote, and I don't think you ever did anything.
I'd never directed anything that I hadn't written myself, and so that was a lot of fun and really interesting. And also the way that we did it, because it was only like a 8-page script, and then we're like, okay, well, let's push it even further. And I remember Nate and Jules, who plays Nate's wife in the film, and they were really great. And they're like, they're saying the scripted dialogue, but they're adding on top of it, and they're improvising, and they're having this really heated, intense moment, and they're fighting, and I go, Jules, start to miscarry, and she's like starts to miscarry in the middle of the scene, but it doesn't happen.
That didn't make it in the film.
But it's like we push it and push it and push it, and see how far we can go, and it was also a good experimental.
Yeah, it was a good experimental, just off an 8-page script, and we added a couple scenes, I think, and just kind of added more dialogue as we were going that we needed to flesh out a little bit more of the story, I guess. So. And
it was fun to like sort of put it together and sort of reveal it in that non-linear sort of jigsaw puzzle feel.
Like, is this actually happening in this time, or like time frame, or did this happen the scene before, like earlier or later?
Right.
Came out like an experimental super drama.
Taking basic normal human drama, human interactions and relationships, and just really messing with that and having fun with it. And I really liked making that, because it was different, nobody was, it was intense drama, but nobody was having their head cut off. So
and we were definitely trying to play it as real as possible. So there's definitely real human emotions in there.
Get to the truth of the scene, and natural delivery.
That was 2013. Is that when it was?
Yeah, 2013. Yeah. That was actually we shot that.
Do you find it difficult to draw that emotion, that emotional state out of your actors and actresses?
Because now I know what I'm doing, hopefully. And I'm working with really, really good, talented people that know what they're doing. So if you've got half of your directing job is casting the right people, and luckily I have met some great actors, and I like to keep a repertoire company of actors that I can rely on, and I know that they're going to deliver and give me something unique and great and fresh every time. And also, having said that, you kind of now, having done this for as long as I've done it, you sort of know how to draw out certain things, and I can tell Nate just like a single word, and then he'll get it, and the whole performance will be altered and improved and gone in whatever direction that I've given him. So now it's not as difficult as it was back when I was 15, 16, running around with my friends from high school thinking that we're making movies, and hopefully that answered your question. I think
he's very good at just nudging in the right direction.
Maybe the actor's got a better directing you. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I've watched you direct Jerry Lacey and other people now as well. And I mean, we're such on sync now with our films because now we've been working together for so long that I think he only needs to say a couple lines, or like maybe he just needs to feed me something in a different way or whatever. And I just get what he's trying to do, and he gets what I'm trying to do with this scene. So
sometimes it's just a look that passes between us, and Nate gets it, and then we'll just
a look of like, do it like this, or you just keep your head here a little bit longer because it's in there.
Yeah,
and that's kind of, we'll talk about that later. But I think we're just more on sync now. Yeah.
How about the project, the Men from 2013?
Yeah, that was also the final chapter of Detective Adam Sarah. I made that in 2012, but I don't know why IMDb didn't list it till 2013. But that was the last installment, and it ends with the copycat and Detective Adam Sarah killing each other, and that is where the story begins in Whatever Happened to Detective Adam Sarah, the first installment of the reboot story, in that the copycat and Adam Sarah are dead and they killed each other. So it, like, in a weird way, it's like it ended that story, or ended that version or timeline of Detective Adam Sarah, but also started the new timeline. If any of that makes sense to you.
More like a different reality.
Yeah, different reality, alternate parallel time, alternate timeline, alternate universe. So that's probably the most significant thing about it. And
Okay. Hey. Now on to Dr. Mabuse. Both of you, you could probably. So.
I'll let Ansel start with
you. So. Yeah, go ahead.
Wrangle Jerry Lacey into the role.
It was tricky. I had this script. I wrote it when I was in my teenhood, and as I said earlier, Dark Shadows, that was a big influence on me, and I was very, very young and said I want to do that. So when I was writing the script, I just wrote it, and I kept hearing Jerry Lacey's Reverend Trask, not necessarily screaming like Reverend Trask does, but that intense, very cold, don't mess with me, this guy is gonna screw you up kind of voice. And never ever believing A, I'd make this film, and B, I'd get Jerry Lacey to play Dr. Mabuse. Nate and I, so we did Bird Drop Dead, and then Nate and I, we were going to do a superhero film, which later evolved into The Rising Light, and I guess we'll come to that. But the script at the time, it wasn't working, and I said, hey, I've got this thing that I've always wanted to do. How about you read it? Nate read it. He liked it. So then it's like, oh, I have an Inspector Loman, so maybe I can make this movie. The snowball started to roll, and I contacted a great number of people in Hollywood for the part of Dr. Mabuse, because I felt, all right, Dr. Mabuse, this is a known name in sort of filmdom, so this is an opportunity for myself. I can really do something here. So I need to have some name actors, and so I know numerous people I contacted, and I could not find Jerry. I found a Facebook page for him, but I'm like, this is Facebook. I'm not really gonna trust this. I don't, But I'm like, what else do I have to lose? So I wrote this email to him on Facebook, and I never heard anything. And other actors started coming on board. We're filling out the other roles and stuff. I still don't have a Mabuse. And it's a week before casting for the character of Dr. Mabuse, because now I'm thinking, well, hell, I might just have to get an unknown, and I'm not. No, I hadn't gotten any of them at that time. And I was coming home, and I just happened to check my Facebook, and there is an email, a response from Jerry Lacey, and it says, I don't know what this is. It sounds kind of interesting. I don't even know if you're even making this film, but let's talk. And I had a heart attack, and then I picked myself up, and then I emailed him back, and he emailed me back almost instantly and said, this is my email, send me a script. So I sent him the script, and it was like 108 pages. And so the next day, I got an email back. I'm going to call you tonight. So massive, massive anxiety attack all day long. And then finally I get a call and Humphrey Bogart's voice is coming through on the other end of my phone. And it's Gary Lacey. Is this Ansel Faraj? Yes. And I read your scripts and it's quite long. I was expecting it to be 10 pages. I'm going on vacation to Italy. You sent me a 100-page script. Yeah? But I kind of like it. Yeah. So then it went. Convince me. So I spent an hour and a half doing just that, and I guess I convinced him for him to call me back the next night and say, "All right, I think I'm going to do this." And then right after that, I got in contact with Catherine Lee Scott. She helped me get in contact with Laura Parker. And also the Johnny Depp Shadows film was coming out like a month before we were to begin filming. So now all of a sudden this hype and this sudden re-interest in Dark Shadows is happening, and I've got 3 of the original cast members in my film, and they haven't been on screen together since 1971. And I'm doing Dr. Mabuse, which is this known IP. And I'm like, oh my God, here I am! I've made it! Oh, but holy shit! And my life changed. It did. Its life changed too. All our lives changed. And in a garage in a 4x4 garage with blue screen wrapped around and a blue cyclorama. And that was a month of filming in June of 2012. And
it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, we still have not recovered.
Yeah, well, it's like I remember doing. Yeah, it's great.
For a moment, how was your experience with Dr. Mabuse, and how did you prepare for the role of Mel?
Oh man, he didn't want me to look at any Dr. Mabuse movies, or Ansel didn't, so I didn't watch any of those movies. So I was just, read over the script a lot, and then for a little bit there. Right at the end, he wanted me to have a British accent.
Oh my God!
And I was like,
everybody had
what? Like, I've never done a British accent, and now he's wanting me to try this. So then I was freaking out about that. But then, good thing we took that away.
Yeah.
But I think it just really, because we would go to coffee shops and stuff, and we talked about the character and what his past was and what's going on with him now, and just everything that you could go through for the character, and kind of his depression. He never found him. He lost, Von Vank, which is his mentor and father figure, and kind of where he was at the beginning, and then kind of what happens to him throughout, and then until the end.
His lack of belief in the supernatural is ultimately his downfall because he doesn't see what's coming. And there was a lot of stuff that we discussed.
Yeah, and then and then to be able to watch, Jerry Lacey and Laura, and
but even Catherine, when it was just you and I starting, there was nobody.
Yeah, and there's nobody there.
And then as that started to happen, that was
yeah, because he emailed me or called me and said, we got Jerry Lacey. And first I was like, kind of, who's that? Because I was a big Dark Shadows fan, and then I looked him up and I'm like, oh my God, how did you get this guy? And then that hyped everything up on me of oh my God, I have to do so good now. This was just going to be another film with me and Ansel and maybe some other people. And now we got all these other people that are coming. What is going on? Losing our minds almost. And then we got to do the table read. And we're both sitting there looking at each other terrified. Can you believe this? Look who's sitting around this table. How did we get this? And now we have to do a table read with them. And then we're going to go shoot a film with them.
Yeah.
So it's just an insane, a month even before of ooh, this is going to be great.
And you've got Jerry Lacey. He's worked with Woody Allen. He's worked with Claude Chabrol. He's worked with amazing people. Catherine Lee Scott. She's worked with high wattage talents, and Laura. Great Gatsby. Yeah. And Laura worked with Brian De Palma and Robert De Niro, and numerous people on herself. And then here they are with a 20-year-old in a garage. We did not even have a mic at the time, which kind of explains the sound quality.
Yep.
In a 4x4 garage, and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to prove that I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Although I think we all feel that way. We all got to really like step it up and show that
we can do something.
Yeah. Not just Nate and I, but all the other actors, because then when everybody else started finding out who was coming on board and what this could eventually be, like the whole dichotomy of the situation changed. And
it went from a film of just like Ansel asking me to read the script and to just like read it. I'm like, cool, let's shoot this thing. So like that'd be a lot of fun to be like, wait a second, what just happened? Like, how did we get these people? Like, this is a little film quickly, and all of a sudden it's this huge thing. A big thing anyway, I guess.
It was a huge thing
at the time.
I mean,
we've
never experienced anything like it.
Yeah. Then we did a premiere, and like I think that was the first time I ever saw myself in the big screen.
Your next project, which is the Rising Light, which
so that was just
is from 2013.
Yeah, we shot that in between Dr. Mabuse 1 and 2.
And that was just kind of we started off that was just going to be kind of an experimental superhero film.
Yeah, like if Terrence Malick did a Superman movie.
Yeah. I don't think we had a huge script for that either.
There was also going to be a lot of improvisation.
And then we changed it later. And
yeah, because so what happened with Mabuse is that the thing just kept getting bigger and bigger, and all this attention started happening. And then all of a sudden we're in Fangoria, the pages of Fangoria, before they stopped printing magazines, and all these people started interviewing us, and it's like, oh, whoa, this is happening. So now our next film, they're all going to definitely want to see it. So we've really got to step that up. So it evolved from being this Terrence Malick-y experimental piece into a weird kind of superhero movie. And I think, I was saying to Nate the other day, I think you can tell that there's a very obvious shift in tone if you watch that film. It goes from, oh, we're having fun making a movie, to this is like kind of serious. Yeah.
As serious,
because now the spotlight is on you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Alrighty. So, do you have it? Who did you have in the Rising Light?
Well, we just done Mabuse 1, so Catherine, I talked to her about it. She said, "Yeah, this sounds cool." And then Lyndon was in it, and this was his last film, unfortunately. Not only with us, but it was his last film. He continued. He played the character of Nicholas Winter again, so we got to revisit that character and see him in a modern day context. Yeah, it was
just those two, and then me and another guy named Derek that was in the Dr. Mabuse film.
Yeah,
and then another gentleman that was in John was in the Dr. Mabuse film as well.
Yeah. So it was some of the as I said, I worked with the repertoire company, so it was some of the same actors from Mabuse, and it was. I mean, that was a lot of fun to make that film.
Yeah, that film was at that time. Well, after Dr. Mabuse seemed like there was kind of a lot of pressure, so this seemed to like just kind of ease the pressure. Let's just go out, drive around, go to these different areas and just shoot like in like natural environment shots
instead of locked in a garage for a month.
Yeah.
That must have been a nice change.
Yes, definitely.
Instead of me delivering my lines to a spot on the wall, I get to finally like see a sunset or see like a mountain that's actually there.
And that totally affected the second Mabuse film, because I remember when we were filming it, I said, I don't want to go and blue screen everything in and fake it all again when we got to do the second film, because the second film was coming. We knew it was when we made the first one, I said to everybody, this is a 2-film deal. If you do this, you got to do the second one. So I said, we got to have real sets. We've got to have some kind of practicality, some kind of location work. And that all happened because of Rising Light and what we learned on Rising Light. Yeah.
Cool.
So let's say then you went on to do the part 2 for Dr. Mabuse.
Yeah.
Apetamar.
After that,
Atio Pomar.
Now, did you already have that casted at the end of the first one and ready to go?
Well, I mean, I knew certain people would be coming back, and I told them that, you know, like 5 or 6 actors. If you do this first film, you're coming back in a second film. But as I mentioned earlier, Robert Altman, I was still deep in my Robert Altman phase. So I said, for the second film, we're going to expand and we're going to see it's not about Dr. Mabuse, it's about the city and the people that he affects. So there was like, what, 32 characters in this film?
And there was quite a few, yeah.
So we had to cast the movie. Yeah,
that was the first time I think that I was ever in the casting room for casting for this one. So we like went in there and cast, I don't know, over like 6 or 7 people.
Yeah.
That was an interesting experience as well.
So you ended up, Nathan, of doing some of Ansel's casting, hey?
Well, I don't know if I could do a spoiler alert for the film, I guess.
That you become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess for an experience for me, that another freak out moment, because I guess spoiler alert that if you guys have seen the films, I don't know if you have or not, but I end up becoming Dr. Mabuse. So then now I have this pressure on top of me that now I have to be as good or as like Jerry Lacey. And I'm like, oh my God. And one day we went up to Jerry's house, I remember, and we were going over like kind of how he speaks and how he does his Dr. Mabuse, you know, voice and where it comes from and kind of how he would do it. And we left and we were driving back and I had to pull over on the side of the road because I was like, Ansel, I don't think I can do this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is going crazy.
Nate really panicked.
I panicked and I was like, I need to sit down. We like went and sat on the lawn for a little bit. Yeah, and it was like, all right, let's chill by Pepperdine. And he's like, you can do this. Like, just keep working on it, and like, you're gonna be fine. Like, just, you know, go and do it as hard and as, you know, as good as you can. And I was like, all right, screw it. Like, we got to do this and let's go do it. But
yeah, and I gave you a lot of movies to look at, and and I mean, we talked extensively of the body language and the voice and the
where he's coming from, and like I would like walk around Venice trying to like be this like tough menacing guy and just kind of like walk along the beach and just trying to like grab the presence of this guy, this mastermind criminal that doesn't care about anything, just like wants to rule everything. It's just, and then towards the end of the film, I like didn't want to let it go because I was like kind of started getting affected by this like power of
it. Wasn't fun hanging around with Nate around that time.
It was great.
He was just like way too much the character, and I'm like, I can't deal with this dude. I've just spent a month and a half dealing with madness, with no money, with no sets to make this movie, and you're still this character.
Yeah, but it was. I let it go pretty quick when it was.
Yeah, it was fun.
But it was a lot.
We're
of fun.
exaggerating a little bit. I think it was good. It's acting.
It was. Yeah, no, it was. So it was good for me to bring on different, because I've never had to play somebody
that was
like
your first sort of villain.
So my first villain. So it was the first time I've ever got to like try to be a badass guy, and now I've been like I'm working on it more into other movies, and now it's.
But it was really. I gotta say, it was really cool when we were doing it because, Jerry would come in. Jerry would come in, and Jerry and Nate were both in like the exact same costume and everything, and they just sit together and like hang out the whole time. And so you got these two Mabuses over in the corner, and then you would, I'd call action, and by then we'd done the first film, we'd done a whole bunch of other things, and I feel like then we kind of knew what we were doing, actor-wise and directing-wise.
Yeah.
And so you would see Jerry kind of begin the scene, and then Nate would pick up in the middle of it, back and forth, and sort of flow in between each other of playing this character. It was very seamless in not only watching it happen, but then how it plays out in the film, but the actual act of being there on set with these two guys inhabiting the same role. It was really fascinating, and I was like, wow, dude, Nate, you've really got it. I'm really impressed. I mean, I know how worried like he was, and as he said, panic attack, but it was really impressive when we got there, and not only like him, like everybody, because we'd already had the first film. The first film, we got a theatrical release on that. We had a huge premiere. We'd never experienced anything like that, and everybody knew now what the film was and what the whole thing could be. So the newcomers to the project really stepped it up. Yeah, Chris Pennick joined. this one, and so
And
everybody
Catherine
really
and Lauren, that
threw
was great
themselves
as well.
into it.
Like, yeah,
It was a lot of work, a lot of fun, and everybody really like just threw everything that they had into this no-budget steampunk thriller that we shot in the garage, yet again in the heat, in the heat of
June with squirrels running around on the roof.
Squirrels on the roof, and everybody's in long black cloaks and heavy
Walking around
clothing and
some streets of
yeah.
LA.
It was a lot of work. It was a good time.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the last case of August T. Harrison.
So
2015.
yeah, that was we had a bit of a break in between the second Maboose.
I think it was a well-needed break.
Yeah, it was.
But then there was
a readjustment period of like, all right, now we've done this. We've had a taste of what we could be like, you know, and
simple,
yeah, it's ups and downs, and the sort of the reality of the situation.
Yeah, because I think like off of Dr. Maboose, we were like, whoa, we got these people in here. This is like, this could actually maybe do something for us. And then afterwards it didn't.
Yeah, I was totally convinced
like,
I was going to be directing Batman the following year. Like, I'm completely convinced.
Just delusional Hollywood.
And that would be filthy rich and yeah. And that didn't happen. And thank God it didn't happen, because we just, as we said, we were delusional. So it wouldn't have worked. But so then it's like, okay, now we've done it. Now people kind of know who we are. We kind of have a name for ourselves. Now let's do something. Yeah, I mean, really small scale, but hey, our names are out there. So now let's do something. The Maboose films are so out there and so fantastical and stylized. Let's try reality and
ish.
Ish, yeah. And really really up our game, I think, filmmaking wise.
Yeah, because let's like we keep every movie. It seems like we keep trying to take another step.
Yeah, I mean, you always strive for the best, but you know, we really push ourselves.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Yeah, with no money.
And I think we took a little break for a while, and then you brought me this script.
Yeah.
And then we did the castings.
And it was written for Jerry.
And it was written for Jerry. Yeah.
And so when we were like casting it, was me, Nate, and Jerry in the room all the time.
Oh yeah, it was.
And it was the three of us would have long discussions about not only August Harrison's character, but everybody else, and the world, and the story, and so and filming it was me, Nate, and Jerry, for a month in December of 2014 in Venice, having the time of our lives, but really like working hard and collaborating and
really enjoyed himself through this film too,
because he got to lead it. It was him carrying the whole film.
And it was mostly just us three going around, and I was doing sound, I was doing production,
we were even rewriting
together. Yeah. At the end of the day,
I didn't give you a script credit.
Yeah, I didn't give you a script credit on that.
But you're a producer.
Yeah, but and then just to be able to have Jerry there and to watch him and learn from him and watch him act. Man,
talk about when you were watching that day of the voiceover.
Yeah, like it's just so effortless for him, and it's just amazing. We were doing these voiceovers, and we were sitting there. We figured it'd be a couple takes or whatever, and these speeches by Jerry, and he's just really getting in there, just effortlessly perfect. And we're both, me and Ansel are both just sitting there watching him like little puppies, just like, oh, it's like little school kids. Just amazed of like, wow, he did that in one take. Yeah. It was effortlessly amazing.
He's like, should I do it again? Was that good enough?
We're like, sure, do it one more time. Just for our entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, and then so pretty much I got to follow him around on that and watch him every move that he did and see how he did it, how subtle he did it, and where it came from within him to bring to like my roles.
Yeah.
So like that's what I took out of it, I guess. And Jerry just was he's great in that movie.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yep. And then that's another. Didn't shoot on blue screen. We tried to go around and do it at different locations.
Do it real, do it practical.
The next film is a short film on Adam Sarah. Whatever happened to Detective Adam Sarah?
Yeah. So that, as I mentioned earlier, I came up with the character when I was in high school. And I was writing another film, and I can't even remember what it was. But then I was just sitting there, and then this sounds totally schizophrenic, but maybe other writers know my pain. But characters start talking to you in your head, and you got to kind of write down their dialogue, otherwise they won't shut up. So this conversation started to unfold in my mind between the copycat and Detective Adam Sarah. And I just wrote it down. I thought, well, maybe this might be fun to do as a one-off. I've learned an incredible amount off of making all these films. I now actually have equipment because I didn't even have a good camera when I made these early student films.
And now you're getting lights.
Yeah, we had lights, we had mics, we had a good camera.
And we met, and then that's on August Harrison's when we cast Eric.
Yeah,
so then you had
Eric Orlo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it only take like 2 days to make. Why not just do this and have some fun? So it was supposed to be a one-off short, and then it just kind of, I was like, well, I'm having a lot of fun, and let me kind of rethink these characters that all exist in my head, in this world that exists in my head, and try to put it out there in a good sort of documented form, so that, I don't know, 30 years from now, if I want to do it again, it's like, well, here it is. It exists. You can see it. It's not just this thing that I've been talking about that, only floats around in my mind. Here is Detective Adam Sarah. Yeah, it was just, I was bored. Let's make something. This time.
Okay.
So it's all the same principle. I'm bored. Let's make a movie. But
let's try to keep one.
But let's just make it better and better and better with each time. So that's how that happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next thing that you started to do was piece together the Theater Fantastique, which was a it's correct.
Web series. Oh. Yeah. That was happening.
I think probably because of Christopher.
Yeah,
right?
That happened right after Boost 2. A
poem of Poe.
And I don't remember exactly how it all kind of happened, but I was like, let's just do the House of Usher, Chris. You'd be cool. You'd be a really cool Roderick Usher. And then we did that as a one-off, and then it's like, well, let's do this as a full-on. Everybody's got their own web series. Let's do our own web series, and let's do our own Gothic anthology show. And so then Theater Fantastique happened, and we went from one story to another, and then it wasn't just so limited to Edgar Allan Poe. We started doing like original things, such as The Happy Home with Murderous Mahomes, which Nate was in, and was a script that I'd had floating around for years. I wrote that also for Lyndon Childs, and that was fun because we got Sally Kirkland in there, and Madame Lesueur. That was also a cool short. Another character that has been living in my mind since I was 14. The psychic with her ghost boyfriend, yeah. So it was this cool little project. Let's just do some short films and we'll put them online. And that was, I think, it's 5 or 6 months shoot, periodically, and yeah.
Have fun with Chris.
Yeah, go have fun with Chris. Chris is a lot of fun. So it's always good to just hang around him and hear his stories.
Alrighty. And I know you mentioned this short film before, but Detective Adam Sarah, Old Friend Origins, and Under a Shroud of Smoke.
Yeah. Later. Yeah. So as I said earlier, like I was bored, and let's do a new version, a well thought out version of Detective Adam Sarah. And then I can't remember. I feel like we were gonna do. There have been so many movies that were like, oh, we're gonna go do that, and then they don't happen for one reason or another. And we were gonna make. Oh, we were gonna make. Nate has a character, a comedy character that he's been talking about for years. About a washed-up porn star named Nick Dick
that lives in Venice.
And,
and I have have the script, the pilot, like kind of the web. Not it wouldn't be a web series, not like a series ish type of thing. some money to shoot that, and the money didn't come through. So I was like, well, let's just cancel it and let's just wait because I think this is going to be something special someday.
Yeah.
And then so I think we canceled that.
So then I was just sitting there, and I was like, well, I got to write something because I'm going out of my mind here. And I just went back to Detective Adam Sarah and said, well, I know the story because I've done it. I have all these stories and characters in my head. So I'm just going to do that. So it was originally supposed to be Under a Shroud of Smoke was just going to be the second one. But then I kept writing because I was like, let me show off this world as broadly as possible so you get the full experience. And then it just became a really big epic. And I'm like, well, I could do this as a feature film and release it as a feature. Or I could do it as, the first one was just a little internet short. So I should probably cut these up and serialize it. And then that's how the 3 of those happened. And then we had the last one, the Long Dream Home.
Yep.
But they were all shot as one big film. So one big production. And it was a whole year of filming, a whole year of all of Old Friend Origins, Under a Shroud of Smoke, Copycats, Lady Cat, and Long Dream Home. Took the entire 2016.
Really?
Yeah. We also shot Nighttime Winds in between that,
So next, I figured I'd talk about the Nighttime Winds, which is a relatively recent feature for you, right?
Yeah. As I keep saying, I have all these people in my mind, and I've had them in there for a very long time.
And now you're starting to get the actors to be able
to reach the level of madness that exists in my mind. I dreamed this movie when I was in the 9th grade. These 2 women were walking through this old dark house. One of them is terrified of the dark, and of course it's dark, and they only have candles. And then somehow the wind blew or something, and the candles went out, and they were alone in the dark, and they weren't safe. And I woke. For some reason, I thought it's one of those weird dreams where you think that it's like a movie that you've seen, and you're not quite sure. Did you dream it or did you watch it on the TV? And I did dream it. It wasn't on the TV. And it stayed with me for years and years. And I love the haunting. I love the innocence. Big gothic black and white haunted house epics. And Nighttime Winds, it started out as an episode for Theater Fantastique, but then I kept writing it, and it got bigger.
No.
So it became its own.
Something I noticed is that the same staircase that was used in the Nighttime Winds was actually used in the last case of August T. Harrison, just marginally.
I'm trying to think. There's a lot of
staircase that leads up to that.
Yeah, no, that was not in August Harrison, because August Harrison was shot all in Venice, and that was definitely not in Venice. Yeah, that's out in Riverside. Yeah,
the one that
the main big staircase that they're running up and down, right? Yeah. No, that was not in August Harrison.
Oh, I think that staircase.
Okay.
Yeah, but you might have. Yeah. I don't know. You're noticing something the filmmakers haven't noticed. So yeah. No, that was definitely in August Harrison. That was
Okay. Well, did you have fun making the Nighttime Winds then?
Yeah, that was a quick 11-day shoot, and I wrote it for the 2 girls, for Kelly Kitko and Kate Avery, and it was fun, but it was interesting because the material is so dark. I mean, you're dealing with, their parents have been killed, and there's, someone was molested, and there's some really gnarly shit going on in that film. So as much fun.
Oh, and you also used an actress from Milwaukee to play one of the girl's mothers, from what I understand, correct?
Frances, who meets a very grisly end herself. But I mean, it's a lot of fun to make. But for some reason, the material, I don't know, I felt it that time. I was like, damn, this is dark. As much fun as I'm having and getting these performances, and we're having a great time. But I'm like, I'm getting depressed here, man. Like this is heavy. So it was fun. And I mean,
I guess for me, I gotta play first time. I gotta play 2 different characters.
Yeah, I came to where he works, and I said, "All right, I've got a movie. Do you want to play this old blind guy wandering around this house in the dark?" And it's like, "Yep."
Yeah,
that sounds cool. That sounds fun.
That sounds so much fun. Why would I not? And then I sat through like 4 hours of makeup, and then we shot for like a couple hours maybe, and I got like, oh, this old man.
Yeah, and then you had to deteriorate.
Yeah, well, and then they like decomposed me, put more makeup on, and did whatever. And then the thing about that, which I've never done that type of prosthetic makeup before, was I thought I could just like it was gonna get taken off in about 30 minutes or something, and I think it took like a couple hours to get off.
Yeah, it was a while.
And I was like, after like 8 hours of having that on, I was just wanted to rip this off so bad, but she said I couldn't because she had to slowly take it off or it'd rip off my like skin. And I was like, I had this weird nose, I'm trying to breathe, and I had this makeup, and she's like slowly ripping off my face.
Yeah, fake hair that was glued to you, and
it's the best video I have on my phone.
Yeah.
What some of the character actors from like the 1930s and 40s had to go through.
Yeah, Lon Chaney. Yeah, no, Nate had to show up like showed up and he was in the makeup chair for like 4 hours as we're filming.
We got great pictures.
Yeah, and then you had a really long day.
Yeah, but it's first and only time so far.
And then the following week he got he got a drill through his brain or through his skull, and that was a lot of fun too.
That was amazing.
That was really good. We liked that scene.
Yeah, and for that scene, the turn off it was wow.
We laughed a lot.
We laughed a lot. Yeah, I laughed a lot when I see it now, but it's like, oh man, that looks so good.
Yeah,
I can't believe we did that.
It's a good moment.
Alrighty. Todd Tarantula. What's that about?
That was a movie that also almost happened. That got real close to happening. I really don't want to talk about the plot too much because I might make the film at some point. But it was a cyberpunk murder mystery thriller in Los Angeles. Detective Adam Serra showed up as a supporting character in it, so it's kind of like a universe building kind of film. We had some good actors attached to that. Steve Railsback, who played Manson in Helter Skelter, was going to be in it. Chris Pennock was going to do it. Sally Kirkland was going to do it.
We just couldn't find funding.
Yeah, Hollywood. Everybody has money for Marvel, but making an indie film, it's not so easy to get. And I think the project was just dark and violent, and people weren't too interested in seeing something so horrendous. And it gets pretty screwed up again. It gets pretty messed up. Yeah.
Which it should.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your latest project that is supposedly eventually coming out soon. Will and Liz.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're very proud of this.
Very proud of this movie.
So
different direction for you.
You different direction. Although in a kind of interesting thing, the movie that you started us with today, with Life Temporarily, with being like a normal human drama relationship film. That's exactly like what Will and Liz is kind of like the film that I thought I was making with Life Temporarily, a contemporary story about what it's like to
live in LA or live in this time, live in LA and just kind of and be in a relationship, I guess, kind of just a simple. Yeah. Hopefully, a lot of people can, and some people that we've shown it to have kind
responded
to it of like, wow, I've been through things like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we set out to try to do.
Yeah,
just relate with a lot of different people.
And this was a thing, like I said with Nighttime Winds. I'm like, I'm so over the horror and the darkness.
This was right after that, right?
This was right after that, and I was like, I need a break. I can't do this again. And I wrote kind of like a 2-paragraph thing of this guy meets a girl and this and then this, and then I sent it to Nate, and we had done so many like thrillers and stuff that I thought, oh, he's gonna think this is the dumbest thing ever. And Nate had just read this like little paragraph of the story, And he's like, this is really cool. And I'm like, well, do you want to write it with me? And he's like, yeah, let's try that. We, different change of pace and do something.
And kind of what drew me to it, I guess, was it was kind of like a girl that moves to LA.
Yeah.
And this guy that is from here meets her, because there's so many people that move to LA as well, and they moved out so quickly.
They can't make it. And it's tough. And then that happens,
however many people move to LA every year just to move here in general, not even
nothing to do with like the Hollywood industry or anything. Just to make it out here
or just to
LA.
Come out here because it's so beautiful and
but chaotic.
But it does happen a lot where then these people leave, and kind of what happens to the person that falls for somebody that does that. So that was kind of in that paragraph there, and then I was like, wow, this is kind of something I was been through as well and stuff. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's try to
do something where we can really
something
connect
different
with people.
And for me, acting wise, like I've been these old man, and then like I've been the fireman, and I've been Dr. Maboose, and these Lovecraft and these like
the Phantom of the Opera,
like crazy different worlds, and all this stuff is going on, and these realities and just kind of big characters. And I was like, this is one where I could like actually like just sit down and like be real and be a real person in now, and like just really try to.
And there was no effects, no blood and gore, and it was just acting and reacting, and it was like
almost like a little play, like a play on film.
Yeah, and
it's kind of how we were going to treating it.
Yeah, and it was the greatest experience I think we've had.
Yeah,
so far,
by far. And then we cast that as well to get our Liz and a couple girls for roommates.
Saw a lot of good actresses, and we found Christine.
Yep.
She was actually the very first girl that walked in for the audition.
Yep.
And she was Liz.
Yeah, and we both looked at each other, which was crazy because it's never usually the first person.
No, never.
And we looked at each other and we're both like, oh man, if this is going to be like this all day,
it's going to be hard.
Like, this is going to be hard. And then the next girl that came in was actually really good. And then we're like, crap. And then kind of slowly this kind of melted off. And we're like, oh my God.
It was the first girl. Yeah.
So it was crazy.
And making it was just the three of us the whole time as well. A very small, intimate setting, and no money once again, and you're just going out and guerrilla filmmaking in Los Angeles.
And dealing with the elements of trying to shoot on different spots. And
you're dealing with planes and homeless people and trucks going by and motorcycle, and then
some older ladies getting out of their car with this dog that we're waiting for.
Yeah. You're just like waiting. It was every single up and down of it was worth it because it was just such a great experience of really just getting in and dealing with human emotion and
we were
feeling things rather than showing things. I think.
Yep. And we thought about like where we're gonna shoot these scenes, and we went to these different spots and like look for locations, and all these different locations that we'd go to that day would have like sound noise or something, and then we'd always have to think of a different spot. But for this film, it was magical how every spot that we went to after the one we thought we were going to go to was always times better than the original choice. Yeah. We're like, this is crazy. Like, we got to rack our brains to try to think of somewhere else, but every time there's always a better spot.
Better option. Yeah. And this was a real collaborative. I mean, Nate and I, we've been working together 6 years.
Yeah,
6 years.
Now. Wow.
But this one was like really like a collaborative. He was the producer, I actually let him make I would say, okay, this is what I want to do. What do you think? And we were. It was
you had to be a little bit more involved in this than you've had before.
Yeah, he could boss me around on this one rather than the other way.
Yeah,
like, that's usually how it works.
And I think it's more, and like, because I'm also the screenwriter on this one as well, so it's both more of like, all right, like, what do you think about this? And I was like, well, yeah, I like this, but what do you think about this? And maybe he'd be like, what about this? I'd be like, oh, what about this?
Yeah.
And then
this character was a team member.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
What was your favorite moment with filming this piece?
I think just us just hanging out in between takes and just being together with each other by the end was
just being in the world. Just being in that world.
Being in this world. We were talking about it the other night even about how we just got sucked into these characters and this thing.
Because it wasn't it wasn't any, like I said, Nighttime Wind was very dark and heavy and stuff, and this was just
Life happening in front of you.
yeah, but it was like it was lighter, and not that this is a romantic comedy, but it was just everybody was in a really nice headspace. So I don't know if there's a particular moment of like, this is like the best scene that I've shot, or today is the best day, but like the whole
thing was
the whole
great.
experience.
And there's so many times that like like down. Do we tell about
well, yeah, like
there's just a couple moments in there where like stuff just happened, and like we just caught like little emotional things that we could never recreate. I don't think. There's our first, so we go on this date.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, let's talk about it.
And we have our big first kiss.
Yeah.
And we got on the subway. We were going to do it on the subway, and we were leaving downtown that night after a big date, getting videoed. And we go around the corner in the subway station, and we look, and I see a bench right there.
And we both have the same thought at the same time.
Yeah. When we look at each other, we're both like,
"Oh, let's do the scene here.
This would be perfect to have our first kiss right here."
Yeah. And so then
go ahead. So we sit
down to do this kiss, and Nate and Christine.
First time
this is also like week 1 of filming, by the way.
So it's weird, awkward, kind of with me and her, because this is our first
day four,
but I think this is like our first time we've had to actually
like
kiss.
Physical contact.
And it's like kind of weird because it's just.
Well, yeah, it's acting.
Yeah, it's acting.
You know, they're not Will and Liz. They're Nate and Christine, but they now have to fall in love. So they do this kiss. And I'm like, no, that's not right. It's just like 1, 2, like real, like quick and uncomfortable. I'm like, no. And then they do it again, and it's a little longer. And I'm like, no. And then they do it again. No, it's still not there. And now it's like we know that the subway is coming.
Yeah. So
we were a time crunch, and I say to them, I want you to think of every great cinematic kiss you've ever seen, and then outdo that. And Christine goes, "Oh God," it's just horror.
And then you can start hear the train.
And I go, action.
And then like Christine's hair like flickers in the wind a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my God, the train is really coming now." And I was like, "This is it. This is it.
We have to do it."
And then
they did it.
And we captured something I think pretty cool. And then the train comes in. And then we got on the train and we left, and then we were like, "We got it."
Yep.
And we actually
that's
just left.
That's all on the final cut.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
That was probably one of the great ones.
Yeah.
Experiences of that, I think.
Yeah.
Just a true
moment that just like happened. Fun story of
Yeah.
The way that it plays out also in the final shot, it's kind of amazing because the camera moves in for a close up, and then the train comes in and the camera revolves around them. You see the train moving through, and for there's Ansel, a lot of stuff going on in that
for you to catch that at the right time when that train came to be there, it was we obviously really like it.
Yeah, we're very proud of it.
Look at those magical moments.
Awesome. At this moment in time, Nathan, I'm going to take a look at your acting career while we have you on. You get some limelight.
Sure.
So you were in a couple of TV series, from what I can see, Free Ride
yeah, that was more of just kind of like featured, almost extra background work. Because I was just trying to get some stuff on my IMDb back then, and when I was on those shows, and just there were a couple people were there, so I got that put up there, I guess.
And you were on Ghost Whisperer, The Other Side.
One more time.
Ghost Whisperer, The Other Side?
Yeah, that was just, I played, just like a little 5 and under role on that as well. And just kind of as a valet, I guess, just like starting out in LA, and kind of just getting a couple roles here and there and just trying to figure it out.
And then called Loaded as Little Eddie.
Yep, so I was actually working at my first job in LA, and I was working at a restaurant in Studio City, and these guys come in there, and they're all, we're going to do this film, and we're shooting this film, we're casting tomorrow. And I was just talking to them like, oh, cool, that sounds awesome. And like, I just moved here like maybe 6 or 7 months.
Okay.
And they're like, you should come audition. We got this role for you that you can maybe do. I was like, oh, really? All right, sure. So I showed up the next day, and when I read, because like one of the executive producer guys that was in it and acting in it, I don't know if he wrote it or not as well. He wanted me to do the lines of this other character as little Eddie, kind of this like screwed up guy that's like messed up, you know, and like took some drugs or did whatever and is all screwed up. And the kind of people were like looking at him after the audition, like, what the hell is going on here? And he was in the back laughing because he was the only one that told me to act like this little Eddie, because the other character would have never acted like this. And then when they realized it, they're like, oh, that was great. That was great. And then, so they cast me in that. And, man, that was a while ago. So that was my first ever like feature film where I had some lines in and did a bunch of stuff. We shot on location down, I think in like Orange County somewhere. I can't even remember where it was. I think Laguna maybe.
This is a story I've never heard. So
that was. So then after that, I was like, oh man, like this is great. Like this is how it happens, is people just come and ask you. It happened again for a while.
Okay, in 2011, you were on a TV series called Angels Among Us.
Yeah, that one.
You played an angel.
Oh, I played a guy. Well, yeah. So that was kind of one of those docu-series type things. Recreation series type of deals where.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like this, and it was based off a real story, and then, so I was the guy that like reenacted it for this guy who would. Like he was out and he was like a hard drinker type of guy, and he's driving around on his tractor one day trying to pull out a tree stump. And this is where my southern accent got to play a little bit of a role. And the tractor flipped on top of him and like crushed his lungs. And then, so then they found him and they shipped him off to a hospital, and he was like, this is a real story. And he was supposed to like pretty much almost die. And I guess, you know, they prayed and did whatever. And he saw an angel when he was sleeping, and it came to him and said that he was going to be all right. And the next day he came out of a coma, and everything that was, got healed pretty much and like very quickly. So it was like a series that they were doing for, I don't know how many, like maybe they did like 10 episodes or something like that.
Yeah, I actually remember watching the show at the time when it was out.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a fun experience. It was very cool.
Where did you film that?
We shot downtown, was like a hospital. It was where they had the hospital at some like warehouse that they made into a hospital. And then we shot up north a little ways, about an hour and a half north of LA, like is where the actual like farmhouse was. And they actually tipped over the tractor, and then I like laid underneath it. So yeah, that was fun.
It had to be kind of a fun experience with acting, though, too, because you get to play on a different emotion, the pain, and
oh yeah,
and all that.
Exactly, and then you're like trying to grasp for breath, and yeah, I think they really liked me. They said I was doing good. Yeah.
Dying is kind of a fun thing to do when you're on camera, not in real life, but
yeah, exactly, not in real life, but yeah, when you're on camera, it's always. I don't know. I've almost been dead or died. What a bit now, I think. Or been dead.
Yeah. And undead.
And undead. But
yeah,
and that was just
up in the chili.
Yeah, and that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just got casted and went to audition and got a call back and booked it.
And then next you played Mickey in Nickel Ride, which was a short film in 2011. What was your experience with that?
Oh, that was great. So this is another guy, a filmmaker that I met, man, probably 11 or 12 years ago, named Levi Holloman. When we've actually, Ansel got introduced to him now. I was auditioning for this feature film that he had that I'm still like want to make that he hasn't made yet. And at that time it was in production, and I think I did like 3 or 4 auditions for this lead role in this film that was called Darkest Day. And then, like a lot of films out here, it got shut down because they couldn't get financing, or they were starting to get it and then they didn't get it and it dropped out. And then they were going to maybe give it to a couple guys with some names and stuff after that when he was trying to keep it going. So we were kind of kept in touch, and he actually directed another short film that I did with a couple people, and after that, got some money through DirecTV to shoot some 3D shorts for them. I think there was like 5 contestants for this competition. We each got $10,000 to go shoot a short film, and so
This was in 3D too.
and this was in 3D. Yep. So then, yeah, so DirecTV gave us money and gave us the cameras, and then we went up north, and he wrote the script, and then it was actually a lot of fun to go up somewhere and shoot and like stay in a hotel and hang out, and that was just about some brothers, and the brothers down on his luck, and he lost his wife, you know, or like I think she left him, and then he has his grandpa's dying, and he has his brother, and they've always ridden on this boat, and the end of the film, like the brothers, you know, get the grandpa back on the boat, kind of this heartfelt moment up in Northern California on this lake. And that was it, kind of for like a 3D effect, like seeing this lake and seeing like what it looks like on 3D and driving the boat through and stuff.
Cool.
That was fun, yeah.
The next thing on the list is Notre Mensonge.
Yeah. So that was the film that I think did the short first, and then we got that up on the IMDb later. That was just a weird short film that was maybe going to get made into a feature. That I don't know if I'm going to talk about that one too much, but yeah, it kind of fell apart. And but we kind of had some footage, and then one of the guys got it up there on IMDb just because we put in so much work on it. And I actually was like producing that as well, and that was one of the first films, even though it fell through, where I was like, you know, I can like maybe just get this going myself. Like maybe instead of like going on all these auditions and wasting my time doing that, like yeah, I can actually, because so I met with Levi, and we got some red cameras, we had like all this stuff, we had a good crew, and then I was like, maybe I can, you know, get it and do it myself instead of going the traditional way of auditions and trying to hopefully get cast. And you know, and with all the people that are out here, it gets pretty crazy. So yeah, so that was a very good.
And the film that I was going to ask you about is Roy Campanella Night.
Yep.
The short.
Yeah. Yep. So that was actually a good experience as well. I think, did we shoot the boost before that?
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah. Because I remember when you were telling me you were going to go film that.
Yep.
Yeah. It was just from a.
Yep. So that was, I think, this guy, they got some money from the Hallmark Channel, and I think it was for the Hallmark Channel online. And it was, I got to play Pee Wee Reese, a baseball player, and it was a best friend of Roy Campanella. And he was like, Roy Campanella had this horrible accident, and he went paralyzed, I think, from the waist down. And it's actually a true story, and then based off of like the biggest attendance almost ever for, and then until a little while ago, but it was a charity event that they had for him so he could raise money because he lost a lot of money. And Roy Campanella was a huge baseball player, and they had a charity night in LA for him. And in the end of the short film, Everybody Lights a Lighter, that's the actual footage from that night. So actually,
that was back in like the 40s.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so it was cool because I got to put on LA Dodger jersey in the end. that was cool.
Go blue.
Yep.
Righty. Well, thank you for talking to me about your career so far. I didn't want to get into the stuff that you did with Ansel because you kind of answered that I might add.
Yeah.
Even while you guys were talking. So, but I thank you both for coming on and discussing your film careers with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, sorry we were kind of chatting up a storm there.
We're talking on top
of no problem. You guys get some of the limelight here, and I'm allowing that for you.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about what we're doing, especially now. So yeah, thank you very much for having us, because we give us an outlet for us to
most definitely
and kind of what's going on out here, and what we're up to.
to return at any given point in time to because every so often I'll probably see if you guys want to come back and
Yeah, that'd be totally fine.
Yeah, when
love
Will
to.
and Liz is out, we'd love to come on and spend hours talking about that.
yeah,
definitely. In any case, thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed yourselves, you listeners that are out there. This was Ansel H. Faraj, who has Will and Liz coming out sometime next year, correct?
Yeah.
And Nathan Wilson, who is actor and producer for some of the many that or films that Ansel has. So I thank you for coming on, for joining us, and hopefully you guys have a good afternoon, and thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you, and yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and I hope that your listeners will check our workout at hollinsworthproductions.com, and it's spelled HOLLINSWORTH Productions, not Hollingsworth, but Hollinsworth. And you can see many of our endeavors there, and it's also on DVD. Our stuff is on DVD, and you can order on Amazon. So
you can also order it at oldies.com. I believe, correct?
Oldies.com. Yes, oldies.com.
Yep.
So, in any case, Mike Dreggy, I run Movies Galore Milwaukee, which is a blog for writing films, but I also run Inside Movies Galore, co-host it with Michelle here and a few others. So, listening, and Michelle, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself before we
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Yeager. I'm from Yeager Entertainment, which is based out of Detroit, Michigan. I've been in the entertainment industry for over 40 years, whether it's to do with acting, modeling, music, writing. I've been in pretty much every aspect of entertainment that there is. I am the only ever in the world born to be Wild Babe, licensed by Steppenwolf, and I was the Michigan liaison for the band from 2010 to 2016. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, all over. It's Michelle Yeager, Jaeger. Just as it's J like the booze. So you can find me there. I am an editor for Movies Galore. You can find me, listen to me on Inside Movies Galore.
That's correct.
And as I say, that's pretty much about it.
Michelle will be joining me in the writing area of becoming an editor of Movies Galore. So, in any case, gentlemen, later I will be watching whatever you will be filming. So, thank you for joining us, and ladies and gentlemen, have a good day.
And have a happy holiday.